feels like Bloom can afford to let this go.
Well, he knows that also that Darren has, been pretty tight to this point. Look at how calm the demeanor of Mark Muldoon.
He does. He looks like somebody who's watching TV.
Mm-hmm. Will Darren Bloom read the situation correctly and move all in?
Oh, he has.
He has.
Really strong.
Wow, he must have read something here. And Mark Muldoon, the gig is up,
Yeah.
as they say.
Muldoon, he's the kind of guy who plays on a real live wire, isn't he? He's an edge player.
Uh-huh.
And
Very good. And after you, I'll tell you one thing, Jesse. When you put all your chips in the pot, as Darren Bloom has done, the only thing you fear is the instant call by the other player where they go call, and you fear they might have aces and kings. Once
Right.
you get past the first, 5 seconds, you've realized you've made the right play. He has, and to his credit, he'll be stacking a monster pot.
yeah, looking at the cards that were at, it seemed like an automatic move for Darren Bloom. But from his point of view,
Right.
it took courage, it took heart. He had it, and he was right.
Of course it did.
Wow, what a hand. A lot of interesting things about that hand, Kenna. But first of all, why did Mark Muldoon decide to make a play on Darren?
Well, I think he sensed that Darren Bloom was his stiffest competition. And, he sensed him as a threat, and he wanted to squash that threat.
He wanted to just put him out right there and just show him who was boss. But
Right.
Then why did Darren make the play back on Muldoon?
Well, it's a good question, Jesse. Sometimes players get lost when they get raised. They're facing a big raise and they get lost in their chips. Their focus is on their chips only, and they're seeing how much it's going to cost them. And very few players have the presence of mind to back off their position and actually assess their opponent's strength. And that's what I loved what Darren Bloom did here. He backed off and he really looked and analyzed his opponent, and as cool and as calm as Mark Muldoon looked here, he had that kind of nervous scratching of the head that I think Darren Bloom picked up on and decided to move all in and put him at a decision for all his chips.
Yeah, I guess Muldoon wasn't really that comfortable, was he?
Well, it finds its way out in little nuances, and maybe that was the little nuance that pulled the trigger for Darren Bloom.
Interesting thing I found is, though even Muldoon made the play, he still has 136,000. He's still well in this.
Right, so it wasn't, a terrible play. He had the chips to make the play. It just didn't work out.
Still a battle going on there for domination, but right now, table captain Darren Bloom.
I'll sit down the table. There's 5 guys I'm playing tonight. I've never seen any of them play. I've never played with any of them. And I'm happy to adjust my game accordingly. I'm happy to be aggressive if the time tells me that's the right thing to do, or I'm happy to be patient, sit there, play tight. Obviously, the format of these competitions, you can't sit around forever. But against that, there is time to play a little bit of poker.
Nobody giving anything away, nobody wanting to leave this table, everybody vying for that one spot in the semis in an opportunity to win $200,000.
Darren Bloom had a fiddle with his chips on the button against Mark Muldoon and then thought better of it with the Jack-6, but Pace has a far better hand.
He brings it in with the ace-8 of hearts. Muldoon maybe lost the plot here. He's going all in with 9-3 on a complete bluff.
Well, this is Irish poker at its best, Kenna. Muldoon
Wow.
does not think he's going to get called. And I tend to think he's right.
Well, he is preying on the conservative nature of Norman Pace here. This is a total situational play, has nothing to do with the value of his hand.
Good raising hand, but not good calling.
And he is correct. I am the one who's lost the plot.
Muldoon's hands were clasped in prayer right there. He was, he got it through.
Well, Mark Muldoon, a bit of a revelation here, Kenny. You know, I was talking to Muldoon before this started, and he said that he reckoned that with 6 players there, you had to assume that no one gets anything all the time.
Well, there's a difference between assuming nobody gets anything and putting all your chips in with 9-3. I'm marking it down just in case I ever play with him. What a play by Mark Muldoon. Certainly you have to take risks, you know, to get chips because you're not always going to have the cards. And Mark Muldoon, his timing was perfect here in this situation to extract and pick the pocket of Norman Pace.
What is the other side of the coin for Muldoon? Will he get caught sooner or later?
He will if he steps out too often because it's such a timing thing. You know, if you make the play against the wrong person at the wrong time or run into a hand, which is the bigger threat, you know, then the jig is up and he'll fall into the pit and down into the abyss and off to the rail he goes. But so far, so good. It's interesting to see what's going to happen next.
I've heard you call it dancing through the raindrops. Right now, Muldoon's singing in that rain.
Mark, you're going to have to tell them to focus on.
Muldoon is right now busy telling everybody that there's nothing much else he can do when you get the 2 queens.
Any good?
When you know the blinds are going to go up and everyone's going to be under pressure, do you feel that you have to make a move?
Well, not necessarily. You're waiting for your opponents to fold under their pressure and make a mistake. Without trying to make a mistake yourself.
Neckelman has gotten nearly reckless, but
Very aggressive.
Uh-oh.
And we can see what blind aggression does. This is what I was just saying, Jesse. You know, you try to avoid the mistakes yourself while letting the pressure build on your opponents and forcing them to make mistakes. This game is about making the fewest mistakes.
Yeah, it was just one hand too many for Neckelman. Pace has woken up with the aces. He's got Neckelman covered. I mean, Neckelman could get lucky, but it is unlikely.
It is.
You've got chances, actually.
Unlikely to the tune of almost 5-1.
And you showed
Neckelman with a mere 16% chance to win.
We've all seen these bastards.
Yeah.
He's played with a lot of heart, this 22-year-old, but is pretty much up against it.
Oh
no
my
more.
goodness, not any longer. He's flopped a pair
He may be
and
a
a flush
favorite.
draw. Well, let's see what the percentages come out now. 50-50. It's a horse race to the wire. Here they come down the home stretch as we go to the turn.
A spade would end it. King or 4 for the lead.
It's a queen of clubs, Jesse. Now a 4, a spade, or a king will win it for Neckelman. Otherwise, Pace will eliminate Neckelman. We go to the river.
Yeah, Pace has to really sweat this one out. He's done it.
Good play.
It's a uneventful 7. Neckelman will finish in 5th place. Norman Pace, the benefactor of 2 aces, Jesse. We seen that last week as well.
Yeah, it's true.
One of the youngest players in the tournament is out, but he's got a few stories to tell his university poker buddies. Definitely one for the future. Let's hear from Patrick now.
I had like about 8 big blinds or something. Then in the end, the hand I went out with, I was like trying to steal the big blind from a player which was rather not defending it too much. I don't know. Went good a couple times, didn't go good in the end.
No one to play with? There's always PartyPoker.com.
Blinds up 7,000, 15,000 now, 22,000 before the cards are out. Is it a crapshoot?
Not quite yet. You know, there's some big stacks out there. It's a bit of a crapshoot for Broadhurst, who only has 46,000. It's 22,000 a round, which means every 4 hands, that's what it's going to cost you.
I think Broadhurst would love a crapshoot right now.
Oh, you know, I'm a little partial to playing craps myself.
Norman Pace is now to raise from the button. This is not automatic, really. This is aggressive, isn't it?
Well, it's a reasonable hand, Queen 8. You know, we're short-handed now. Only 4 players remain.
He's going to love what he sees from Broadhurst. This is a crapshoot. Broadhurst rolling the bones.